Well, let's get to it. The executive director and CEO of the Verbo Fiesta Bowl and Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Erik Moses, joins us for his weekly visit here on Fox Sports 910. Erik, what's going on this afternoon? What's happening?
I'm good. It's good to talk to you guys. Sorry for being a couple minutes late. I've been in here trying to figure out how to get K-State here.
Hallelujah. Thank you. You take all the time you want, Erik, to get the K-State Wildcats here. Please.
Wildcat Nation would invade Arizona.
Gosh. And they will, trust me.
I got to ask you, going back to last week, rivalry week back there in North Carolina Duke, and it took overtime, and were you a little sweating a little bit there? Were you sweating?
Tight.
It took years off my life. I mean, I'm sitting there, watching it live. It's homecoming. It's my reunion and all this. And these guys, we looked for every way to lose that game. But thankfully, we were able to vanquish the Dukies in double overtime after former Tar Heel Caleb Love decided to vanquish them in basketball for the Wildcats of Arizona. So it was a bad week for the Dukies. It was a bad week.
You don't feel bad about that at all, do you, Erik? That's no, you don't lose any sleep over that one. My sister, husband, and family are all Clemson Tigers, and you got Clemson this week. And Jax, our fine executive producer, pointed out that -7 he thought was a little too much going down there to play in Boone, Carolina. Is there a reason why you think the spread's a little higher, or is that about right, you think?
I mean, playing in Death Valley is it's tough down there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the last time Carolina beat Clemson down there. Maybe we haven't ever done it. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
This will be a game that I was talking to our athletic director, Bubba Cunningham, about this. This will be a game that tells us who our team is, frankly, and whether the Tar Heels are really ready this year. And then they leave there and go to NC State. So the last two games are on the road. So we'll learn a lot about what they're made of.
Looking at the overall college landscape, as you mentioned, a lot of big rivalries last weekend, this weekend. But when you see these rivalries, and hopefully those top 5 or top 10 teams wait until their conference championships, nobody hiccups along the way. What's the intrigue for the Verbo Fiesta Bowl and watching a lot of these games per se?
I think it's one, wanting to see what happens with Tulane, certainly as one of the group of 5 teams, and where they end up and how strong they finish the season, to see if they're going to remain in the top 25, or if any other of the group of 5 schools makes it into the final top 25 that could get them into one of the New Year's Six bowls. And then I think it's just how much shuffling there is, and call it the top 10 or 12, so that we can figure out, all right, how many West Coast teams are going to be included in that, and how that might affect what we're looking at. As we've talked about, you and I, Washington and Oregon have dominated the projections that I've seen for our game. We've seen some other teams like Alabama recently, and Texas pop up on the other side of that matchup. So we just have to see how these teams finish the season, how strong they finish, and whether there's some unexpected upsets.
It's also interesting to me for the CFP and a lot of bowls that are out there to see the style points per se. Teams running up on good teams, or if it's a close game, but is it a good close game, or do you give the other team that made it close that much merit if the favorite wins? You see what I'm saying, Erik? It's kind of like there's a lot of, I call it minutia, that's out there surrounding a lot of these games.
And they take all of that stuff into account. I mean, the one of the most intriguing things for me is you've got Washington at 5, and I guess Oregon at 6 right under them. And, what happens if they play for the Big 12 championship and Oregon wins, and now head-to-head they're 1-1? If one of them, say the number 4 team, Florida State or someone, drops down, which of them do you bump up into the semifinal if they're 1-1 head-to-head? Some of that may have to do with style points. Who won by more? Who looked better in the win, or who looked worse in the loss when they were head-to-head? Those kinds of things are what the committee considers, and I don't envy them, because there are some close calls I'm sure that will have to be made this year.
Erik Moses joining us here, Rocco Minucci, Fox Sports 910. I don't know if you can comment on this, but I'm going to ask you. Or it could be your opinion too, and maybe you take your executive hat off, but. This week, a couple schools, the NCAA rejected a couple postseason waiver requests Tarleton State, Jacksonville State, and an undefeated James Madison. Understand the rules are the rules, but do you think there could be an option that bowl executives and presidents and ADs can get together and maybe make a case for James Madison to have an opportunity to play in a bowl game, even though they need one more year, part of the 3-year deal?
Look, I'm happy for those guys. I'm familiar with that school. Having lived so long on the East Coast in the DC area.
Yeah,
happy for them to have that kind of success in their first year up. I think what you do by making exceptions like that is you open the door to everyone,
sure,
wanting to make the same case that they deserve an exception, and then why have a rule, right? So I don't think that we're likely to see that kind of thing happen, given the consolidation of strong teams into a handful of conferences. Big Ten, SEC, Big 12 are all getting bigger, more member institutions. They're going to want as many of those seats in the postseason as they
Good
can
point.
get. So I can't see anybody coming together to say, well, let's let little brothers, get in here and take up some of these spots.
I got to tell you what, if you would have told me, Eric, about 3 years ago that Jetfish would have a number 17th ranked team take on number 22 Utah team, second to last week of a season 3 years from now, and that they were favored against Utah, I'd have told you put the ganja pipe down, please. You just got too much going on there. You know what I mean? I mean, what Jetfish has done down there is truly amazing, and that's for a lot of major bowls to watch as well too now.
Yeah, I'm really happy for them. I know they've been kind of, as they say, toiling in the vineyards for a while now with that program and trying to get them on track. And it's great to see the success that they've had, especially since there's been some noise in the news about their athletics program more generally down there. It's good to be able to point to the success that they're having on the football field and, frankly, on the basketball court with that win over Duke. So I hope they're going to get in a great bowl, represent this state, and continue their winning ways going into the future and into a new conference.
Erik, talk about something that you guys started this year, the college football game of the week. I believe tomorrow is the final installment, East Side and West Side. Talk about how that's been going, and how do you see that thing continuing to grow?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. It's great. USC UCLA rivalry tomorrow. We'll be watching those games at BetMGM over at State Farm Stadium on the west side, and then at Putting World over on the east side. The idea, as you guys know, is we're a college football organization at the end of the day, and we want to convene people around all things football, all verticals of football, but in particular college football. And so, we want to bring people out and have a good time enjoying this fantastic season and this great sport, because what folks in the Valley need to understand across the state is college football is great and exciting every weekend. And then you have the luxury and the privilege of having two of the best postseason games every year right here in your own backyard that you can take advantage of. And I think that's great. And it's a luxury, having lived in different places around this country that didn't have bowl games as strong as ours right there. I think it's great. And it's an extension of an already exciting season that we've seen this year. And
last one, in regards to tickets, guaranteed rate bowl in December, as well as the Verbo Fiesta Bowl on the 1st. What are you suggesting these days for those who want to start, buying some tickets? Next week's Thanksgiving, then everybody starts thinking holidays, gifts, things like that. What do you recommend in the best route to go for those people out there that are like, they're on the fence of buying tickets this year or not? And what's the best route to go?
Well, I would direct everybody to SeatGeek or to fiestabowl.org to buy their tickets. I'll say this. We're likely to have some really good matchups, especially in the Fiesta Bowl, but also in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. And those tickets become harder to get, and great seats become harder to get once those teams are announced. So if you want to be an early mover now and go ahead and buy your tickets, if something comes up and you can't go or what have you, you can always resell them.
Yeah.
But once those, imagine if we've got an Oregon and Alabama. Those tickets are going to be flying off the. So get them now and you're in the catbird seat to be able to keep them and go and see a fantastic game. Or if you want to resell them because you can't go, you'll have that option. So I would tell people to be an early mover and go ahead and get your tickets now.
Was that Oregon, Alabama a subliminal slip up there, Eric? I'm just saying. I mean, was that something?
At least he didn't say Kansas State.
Well, I know, but I'm just, was that just in the back of the mind, or is that wishful thinking right there?
I mean, it's wishful thinking in some ways, and I've seen that in one projection. So, Bo Nix coming down here and playing against the former SEC foe. Ooh. I mean, imagine that lead up. That one could work really well, and we get Saban those guys back out here with a chip on their shoulder, because if they're not playing for a national championship, we all know they're pissed off if they can't play in the playoffs. I think that'd be a hell of a game. That was everybody in the I-10 crashing when you said that, going, "Damn, really?" I mean, good it be, right?
Oh, it's good stuff. College football, it's at its peak right now. It's outstanding. Eric, thank you for the time as always, man. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate you guys.
Eric Moses, Executive Director, CEO of the Verbo Fiesta Bowl and Guaranteed Rate Bowl. You can follow him on Twitter at Fiesta Bowl CEO. Appreciate him taking some time to talk some college football, as two of the top bowl games are here. Again, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl is December 26th at Chase Field. And then the big one, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, that's the first at State Farm Stadium. So good stuff there. But, it keeps
Rock,
doing everything you can to get the K-State Wildcats. Thing is, here's the thing.
I love it, but
you won't even go.
I sure will.
No, you won't.
The Cats
you won't even go.
Every time the Cats meet, I've gone. Matter of fact, you and I went to the.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
It was
Jax. He wore his jacket,
and it fits.
He wore the Letterman jacket?
Yeah.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
The Letterman jack's cool.
And it still fits.
It wasn't. Not by me being with him.
Yeah,
well. He was on a date, maybe. But I was hanging out, and I'm not a K-State fan. Who are they playing? Syracuse? Or
UCLA.
UCLA.
And Josh Rosen lists UCLA.
Josh Rosen.
And we smoked him. Yeah, Lori and I just started dating, and Rock's with his date. We're hanging out, and then, I don't know, we were smoking. I turned